Can you unmute?
Yeah, I can hear fine. Thank you.
Great. Just making sure.
Well, I hear a
Okay,
lot of
everybody.
music.
We are about to start. All right. All right. I hereby call to order the December 10th, 2020 Board of Commissioners special budget meeting. And we are called to order. Can we start with the roll call, please?
It's Commissioners Thompson,
Here.
Here.
Ball,
Here.
Carswell, here, Rothman,
Here.
Vaughn,
Here.
Myers, here, DePone,
Here.
Bowman,
Here.
DePlacido,
Here.
Weingrad,
Here.
Vehi,
Here.
Schreiber,
Here.
Hecker,
Here.
Spiegelman.
Here. All right. Let's all rise and join together in the Pledge of Allegiance. I have tried to set my profile picture to a flag for us. I hope everyone can see it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States,
of America,
and
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
All right, so we have one item of business tonight. Manager Manfredi, do you want to say anything before I make this motion and we have any last discussion?
No, sir. I think once the motion and the second is on the floor, I'd be happy to talk about one or two items.
Okay. All right, then I'm going to go ahead and make the motion. We can talk, and then before we vote, of course, we will take the comment. So our one item on the agenda is item BOC-01-121020. This is a motion to adopt the fiscal year 2021 annual budget and the fiscal year 2021 tax levy and appropriation ordinance number 2179, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Manager Manfredi, you want to get us started?
Yes. Thank you, President Spiegelman. As you know from the previous presentations and from the budget, which has been online since October 22nd, I believe, this budget includes no tax increase for fiscal year 2021. It reduces expenses for fiscal year 2021 below the fiscal year 2020 level. It has been a difficult and challenging year. We have taken steps throughout 2020 to make sure that we minimize the impact on our fund balance. And it is our rainy day fund, but we did want to leave some rain in the cloud, so to speak. So we've done everything we possibly can to deliver this budget. And as many commissioners have asked, without the burden of a tax increase this year. But all the details have been previously presented. There's only one item I want to make sure I call your attention to. We learned most recently that there's a deadline for us to take advantage of the additional $282,000 in credits with Delaware Valley Health Trust. As you know, we worked very hard to make sure that our increases in healthcare and other things were minimized. And the Delaware Valley Health Trust, which is a trust of municipalities and organizations that are participants within it, offered us an additional credit for our participation and in exchange for making sure that we stayed, not what's making sure, but that we remained with them for fiscal year 2022 as well. And in as much as we have no intention of going anywhere, there was no way that we could leave anyway. We took advantage of that great offer of theirs for that $282,349 additional credit, which helped us not rely on an additional $282,000 of the fund balance. So that premium change actually was an $87,000 reduction. With that said, with the adoption of this budget, because we have that built into this, rather than calling for a special meeting later in the month, because they've asked us to take this action to amend the trust agreement, before December 30th, we placed on the agenda for the regular business meeting that matter. It becomes a routine administrative matter at that point to affirm that for them. So I just want to make sure everyone is clear and is aware, and that's really all I have at this point, sir. Of course, if there's any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you very much for that clarification of that explanation of why there will be that additional agenda item for our full board meeting. Do any commissioners have any questions or comments regarding the budget? You'll have to give me a second. I'm going to look at everybody. If I miss your hand, just shout out loud. Got a lot of pages to scroll through here. All right, then what we're going to do is in just a second we are going to take public comments. I do want to say I want to thank you, Benjamin Freddie, and all of the department heads and all of the staff, everybody who was involved in putting together this budget. It was an effort as extraordinary as the challenges that we faced in doing it, and really to be commended for that, especially being able to arrange to give all of our residents, all of us taxpayers in the township, a reprieve from what will be a necessary tax increase, but at least a reprieve during this difficult and just unpredictable time, time of such instability, and also a year to prepare, more than a year to prepare for what we are going to have to talk about a tax increase of some significance, not to be the Grinch. But with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take calls from residents. We have one caller, so if you could please let the caller in.
You're unmuted, Ms. Lehman.
Hey, Laura Lehman, Meadowbrook. This is, we are running the least transparent government we have ever run. We are running a government that refuses, Mr. Spiegelman, to answer questions or to even have a manager who promised that questions would be answered because he refused to give the budget to us on October 22nd. So that we could review it and ask questions. And then he promised he would answer questions, and he did not. He answered one completely falsely. All of you saw that. And then he answered another incompletely. I just saw something come in my email box just before I came here to sit down, which is possibly the rest of the documents that were withheld. Not even a right to properly. And I shouldn't have had to put in a right to know to get the answers to these questions when I was promised them in the first place, and when there should have been workshops for the people, as there have traditionally been in other administrations. This administration is the most corrupt, the least transparent, and it is a complete frustration to absolutely oversee anything. As all of you know, I had massive questions over Tim Clark's positions in the salary department. He is listed as Assistant Director of Engineering, a driver, an electrician, a maintenance electrical tech, and a truck driver, and also in the budget, which wasn't given to me in right to know documents, he's listed as a construction manager for $98,000. So all of that, because it is so convoluted, requires the cooperation of commissioners to either A, get a manager who actually can pull this stuff into a proper chart so it can be overseen, because all of you should be overseeing it as well, or B, you should accommodate the questions. My own commissioner, Commissioner Hecker, has been absolutely silent. Peggy Myers is always saying, your commissioners will answer that. No, they don't. She knew Steve Klein didn't, and now Tom Hecker is following in the same path. And that's how the corruption started. Steve Klein went out with the possibility of being charged by the Attorney General's office and costing the taxpayers an investigation. We can't have that. The nomenclature alone in the budget that produces a 100 pages of war and peace in the budget with the details of police arrests that have nothing to do with the budget and shouldn't be in there. And none of you will do anything about it. You absolutely are allowing this manager to obscure the information that residents need in order to have their township run properly. And then you are paying people to go out and do things like helping the development.
Ms. Lehman, your time has expired. Thank you for sharing your comments with us.
Ask you, please.
All right.
I have a question.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Zappone, is that you?
Yeah,
Go
John, now, is that accurate information in that gentleman's job description, all those functions? Is that accurate? To that?
Commissioner Zappone,
Yeah.
as you know, Mr. Clark, there's
Yeah.
two Timothy Clarks.
Yeah,
There's
yes.
actually
So,
3.
I'm sorry, there's three. Thank you, Jeanette. So there's Tim Clark, who is and has been, first of all, I want to say this. Tim Clark, who has been a longtime employee of this township and resident, is an incredibly tremendous asset. He has held the title of Assistant Director of Engineering from far prior to my arrival here. Mr. Clark, when we created the construction services team to do projects, which we've shown you and demonstrated the dollars that we're saving by doing it this way, was given an additional stipend and the title of construction services manager, which he's held for at least 3 years. The other two positions are other Timothy Clarks. So there's not one person receiving various salaries. There are 3 that we have had the great fortune of having a few apples, at least one that I've met, fall from that same tree. I don't know if that answers your question, Mr. Zappone.
I'll let it go at that.
Okay. Well, Jeanette, you mentioned there was a third Timothy Clark.
Well,
There are 3 Timothy Clarks. There's Timothy Clark as Assistant Director, as you mentioned, and Construction Services Manager. There's a Timothy Clark in wastewater as an electrician, and there's a Tim Clark in Public Works that works as a driver amongst various other tasks. And they all have different middle initials. I'm not going to share that information, but they are different. They are different persons.
Classification.
Gotcha. Okay.
They are the Public Works and the wastewater gentleman are both per diem employees, and then Tim Clark is a salary clerk.
I gotcha. All right, that clears that. That's good. That clears that up. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Zappone. Thank you, Manager Manfredi, and Ms. Herman. Thank you, of course, for that clarification. All right.
I just want to say one other thing because, it's important, I think, that people understand. And while I certainly don't consider myself or any of the directors who contribute so mightily to the budget narrative Tolstoy, which frankly would be a compliment. But I think it's important that we include in the budget narrative because there's a lot of money, especially in the case of the police department. The police department in Abington Township, as everyone knows, is a first-rate, first-class organization. And funding an organization like that, and I can't, given all of the issues with respect to police and funding, the work that they've done this year to reduce cost, hold off and delaying hires, and all of the others, even make and highlights even more so the importance of saying, what are we doing with the money that the taxpayers give us to run that police department? So all that data, all that information is really intended to be justification, for a lack of a better thing, of the accomplishments and the achievements and what they've done and what they plan on doing as to what the request for those dollars is. So it may be voluminous because they are thorough in presenting their narratives, and we are thorough in presenting, which is why the document is as large as it is. But it certainly is done to be transparent, to let the taxpayer know how their money is being spent and what is being spent on. So I appreciate the comments. I don't necessarily agree with them, but I think that we're moving in a direction. There's a lot of things that we're doing to increase public-facing transparency. The money that was appropriated last year and this year for the financial accounting system, new system that will be on board that will allow people to actually see what's being spent when that thing is up and running. So there's a lot of things that are in this budget, even as challenging as it is, a lot of work that every department does and puts into those line items. I think it's very important, and I think, and that you all know, and I thank you, President Spiegelman, for recognizing it, that this is hard work that they've put in, and that information and the narrative that makes it a voluminous document is meant to help educate the public so they actually see what is happening and what is being done.
Thank you for making that point, Manager Manfredi. Thank you, Commissioner Thompson, for pointing out we actually have another caller, another resident with their hand raised. So if you could please let in Mr. Judge.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, indeed.
Hi, David Judge, 416 Roslyn Avenue. So I just wanted to say thanks to everybody who helped put the budget together. I know it's a big deal. Trying times and managing to keep costs down while we're still struggling with revenue, I think is really impressive. I think my only comment more for the board in terms of long range planning is really around the police funding in terms of a total percentage of the budget. And if you look at it as, nearly 50% of the budget, then we should be conscious as we're thinking long-term planning, what do we want that number to be? Because I think it speaks to sort of, values of the township, values of the community, and sort of where you put that money. And so as we move forward, that's I would just caution us to, or I would advocate for being very thoughtful on what percentage we want that to be and sort of in tune with some of the other townships around us. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much for sharing your comment, Mr. Judge. All right. All right. One last call for any comments, questions from commissioners. Commissioner Carswell.
Hi, so I wanted to just offer that when I first became a commissioner, it was right before the budget season of 2018, going into the 2019 budget, and being handed, back when we were in person, a very fat binder that included all of that narrative at the beginning was incredibly helpful to me in getting to understand how our township functions, understanding the ins and outs of each department. I mean, there are several pages, just to use the example of the police department, there are a lot of programs under community policing that are in that budget, in the work that staff does. So that document has great value. I'm glad that we have it. It has also facilitated a number of conversations I've had when I have shared in my newsletter. Residents have asked questions, and I've been able to have some interactions with folks and point to pages within that section to better understand the details of some of those programs. I was an English major in college. I prefer words over numbers. It gives a better story for me. My husband is an engineer. He wants the graphs. He wants the data points. So that document provides both of those pieces, and I'm proud of the work that our township staff has done to prepare this year's budget. And I absolutely advocate that we continue to provide this level of documentation because it facilitates the growth of knowledge and the interaction of people better understanding and asking the questions that they ask. So thank you again for putting that together.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Commissioner Carswell. And I will add to that. Now, this is however many years I'm into this, been through quite a few budgets, and it's only gotten, in recent years, it's only, for me anyway, gotten user friendlier from my perspective. And I think from what I've heard from my constituents as well. I mean, I remember when I would request the budget book in PDF form, and I would actually have to OCR it myself, so it became searchable, and I crashed my computer a bunch of times. For that and the reasons that Commissioner Carswell cited and others, I think it's just much easier to use. So thank you again Manager Manfredi. Thank you again, Director Herman. All right. Any last questions or comments from commissioners before we vote? All right. Hearing none. This does not require a roll call vote, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. The budget is adopted. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Obviously, we're going to be back here in just a handful of minutes. So with that, our final budget meeting for this year is adjourned. Thank you.